Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of The List Show. It's my show where I do top lists of mostly movies, but I've done other things as well. During this time, I've done 16 of them. This is number 17 for me. And it's Memorial Day weekend. It's Sunday, May 24th, 2026 at 11 p.m., which is funny because I started my regular show, Dylan Knows, at 11 p.m. yesterday. So it's kind of good, 24 hours ago. So good timing on that on my part, I suppose. And this is my list show. I've been doing my Dylan Knows show for close to 13 years. And part of my Dylan Knows show early on, I used to do a list show with a wonderful person by the name of Gigi Fletcher. And we had issues with computers. And then when YouTube switched to, we won't allow people to join your party, you have to do it by yourself. Or I still haven't figured out how to invite people to join my show. But right now we aren't able to do that now. So I got the idea that I wanted to do some list shows. So what I tend to usually do is, New Year starts over. So this is 2026. So that you think back is like, what are the top, 25 movies of 2001? And what are the top 30s of films of 1996, top 35 films of 1991, top 20 films of 2006, top 15 films of 2011. So on and so forth. So do stuff like that. So this one is top 25 films of 2001. Always have to yawn. As always, I have a disclaimer. This is my list. These are my picks for my 25 movies. If you don't agree with any of them, you think I put a movie too high or too low or whatever, or I missed a movie, it's your prerogative to make your own lists. I try to list movies that I've seen, at least know enough about. Some of them I don't. I also have honorable mentions, sometimes 3. In this case, I have 4 honorable mentions. I know that's kind of defeats the purpose, but not really. It's we're not doing top 30 movies. We're doing top 25 and just some honorable mentions that didn't quite make the cut for whatever reason. The list is also fluid, which means that if I decide to do this again next year, the year after that, I might have seen some other movies, or I might have rewatched some of these, and I have better estimations of it, or I liked at least, or I liked the film better than ones that was on here, so on and so forth. So this is by no means the end all be all, but again, this is my list, my opinion. And if you don't like it, it's fine. It's free country still. I don't know, it's getting closer to not being a free country, but you can comment all you want, but make your own. You can make a response video, or you can make your own comments or whatever. But don't be a dick about it. This is my show. If you don't like it, oh well, your opinion. Yeah. So 2001 was a very interesting year for obvious reasons. I had been dating my wife when January 2001 hit. I've been dating my wife now for September, October, November, December, for 4 months. And during 2001, we took a trip to Washington, D.C. in April, which was literally like a few days before or whatever. There was a young intern or something like that who disappeared while jogging in one of the paths near where we were, right around that time that we were in DC. It was also the White House Correspondents' Dinner at the hotel across the street from or the convention center across the street from our place. So what we were watching from the hotel we were staying at. So we got to see all the celebs come in and check that out. My wife was getting her master's at the time in food science, and in the early part of the year, her mentor decided that they were going to move to Wisconsin, take over a position at the University of Wisconsin. and they wanted to know if Dawn would want to go out to Wisconsin to finish her master's and be her maybe TA. And so my wife was contemplating that because her work was really going nowhere at that point. So we talked a bit about it on our trip, and I told her at that point, I said that we've been together in April, so that would have been September, October, November, December, January, February, March, about 6-7 months. I said, I have a really good feeling about you and us, and if you want me to, I will move to Wisconsin with you. I have no issue doing that, because at that point in 2001, I was working at Rainforest Cafe, which was fine. And I was still working the radio station. So, but it wasn't anything too crazy. And those are two jobs you could easily remove yourself from and start up new in Wisconsin. And with her being a TA, we would have gotten, I think, free room and board or something like that. So it wouldn't have been a big deal. But in the end, my wife got a really good promotion and money, and ended up found somebody else who could mentor her at University of Maryland. So she continued her master's at University of Maryland. And then we made a decision then that we would move in together because her roommate was getting ready to move out soon. So we moved in together in August of 2001. Lovely, awesome apartment, 2-bedroom apartment, 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment up in the Cockeysville area. She worked in Hunt Valley, so she was 5 minutes away from our house, from her apartment, and I worked in Towson. It was a little bit longer, but it was by no means a horrible thing. I could take back routes. And it was a wonderful apartment. We had 2 kitties at the time, and it was first time, being on my own, and it was wonderful. A month later, it was September 2001. September 11th, 2001 to be exact, which was when the World Trade Center towers were attacked, and they fell down when the Pentagon was hit by an airplane, and an airplane that was heading for Washington was taken down in the woods of Pennsylvania. So there were 4 planes, terrorist attack on the United States, and we became a much less safe place. But if everybody's in shock, so September was just a weird month for everybody. Baseball, football, the movies, they all just shut down. Nothing came out for a few weeks, and then they started going back up again. Perfectly amount, because by the end of the year, we got back into some of the best movies that are defining a generation now, 25 years later. Got a decent spread now. Also remember, there are some movies on here with actors who are problematic now, but at the time were not. And and that still doesn't take away from the fact that they were good movies. So here we are again, the top 25 films of 2001. My humble opinion, not yours. Starting with 4 honorable mentions. A Knight's Tale, which I have seen off and on, but hasn't really seen the whole thing. I think I can't remember a really damn thing about it, but I just keep reading about how good it is and how different it was. Heath Ledger in one of his defining roles, a rock and roll sort of restoration, sort of comedy, drama, action film. Paul Bettany was in it. Great cast like that. So I heard really good things about Knight's Tale, so that's an honorable mention. Of course, Legally Blonde is another one that I'm like off and on seeing and have heard really good things about. Reese Witherspoon, everybody loves it. It was a musical, stuff like that. That's 25 years old as well. Another teen movie I put in here just because the team that did these parodies, their parodies got worse and worse and worse. But this one was actually a pretty decent one. Young Chris Evans doing stuff and making some really good commentary on the late 90s, early 2000 teen movie surge, and it was the perfect timing for it. It's not Airplane quality, but it's decent. They had a pretty good one with Not Another Superhero Movie with the dearth of superhero movies coming through. But they had a whole bunch of ones in there just were awful. They're not even worth it. And finally, Ocean's 11, the Steven Soderbergh remake with a hella talented cast, including George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, Julia Roberts, Andy Garcia. Who else was in there? That's just the tip of the iceberg. Those are the big ones. There's just a ton of other people. I think Don Cheadle's in there as well. There's just a whole bunch, and it spawned its own set of a trilogy, and is actually created a Ocean's 8, which was an all-women's version of it, which came out later, and then starting to get production later this year will be the Ocean's 11 prequel with Bradley Cooper and Margot Robbie playing the parents of George Clooney's character, and one of their first gigs of robbing stuff in the 1950s. So could be interesting. So those are all interesting ones to check out, and honorable mentions. Number 25 was Jurassic Park 3. By no means as good as the original. Nothing as good as the original. Way better than Lost World. And this is a somewhat underrated one. Sam Neill returned for this one. He was not in the second one, but he was the only one that returned from the original series. Had Téa Leoni, William H. Macy join the cast as well. And they were able to produce some of the other stuff that they had cut out of the adaptation of Jurassic Park. There were some set pieces in the original Jurassic Park book, and maybe even the Lost World as well, that they cut out of the movies, just they couldn't do it at the time, but they were able to sort of put them back into this one. And this was its own creation because Michael Crichton did not write a third Jurassic Park book, so they were not adapting anything. They just made their own original story. As I said, taking some of the stuff that they didn't do in the original two books that were in the original adaptations in the movies and made them into this one. It's a decent time waster. Jim Johnson directed it, the guy who did The Rocketeer and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So and Captain America, the First Avenger. He's just one of these directors that's just like, you don't really know who he is, but he makes some, good, but not, they're actually pretty decent movies. I mean, yeah, Rocketeer is one of my favorites. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is good. Captain America is really, really good also. And then this one, I'd like to see something else. What else ever he made? I'll take that later, but I'll check out what he made later on. But Jurassic Park 3 was number 25. Number 24 was Spielberg's film for 2001. And excuse me. Spielberg was a friend of Stanley Kubrick's. I am not the biggest Stanley Kubrick fan, and Stanley Kubrick died in 1999, and he had a bunch of films that he was wanting to make, but because he took forever to make his movies, he never got around to making them. And AI was one of the films that he had written a long time ago. They just never got around to it. Special effects, whatever, hadn't come around yet. But Spielberg, being friends with him, discovered it, or someone in the Stanley Kubrick family said, here, he wanted you to have this. So Spielberg took a look at it, thought it would be a decent film for him to do for 2001, because 2001 was one of the movies that Stanley Kubrick made, blah, blah, blah. And so Stephen, why are you like this? Stephen decided that he would make this movie, and he would co-write it with Stanley Kubrick, taking what Stanley Kubrick had already, and then making his own changes to it. So this was the first movie that Stephen had written in a while. So that was kind of a big deal also. And it came out, and it was okay. Saw this movie with my wife. At the time, we were still dating at that time, but we went and I saw some movie theater with her. It was okay. Haley Joel Osment, coming off of The Sixth Sense, did a fine job as the robot AI boy, and Jude Law was fantastic in the role he was in. And it was just kind of a really kind of dark and depressing, sort of not real Spielbergian type of film. It had beautiful visuals, and a lot of people don't like the ending, but because the whole film was dark and they kind of wanted to keep that darkness quality to it. But when they sort of veered into a kinder, gentler sort of thing, a lot of people were just like, yeah, that's not how this movie should have ended. But you know what? I don't care. It's a movie I probably should rewatch. Haven't rewatched it since I saw it in the movie theater. It's not one that's eminently rewatchable. His human family is absolutely horrid to him, and he has nothing but love for his mother, and that's how the story gets cased. They throw him to the curb, and he's trying to find his mother, but gets involved with a black market AI criminal group that kills AI for sport, sort of thing. It's just some weird ass shit, some interesting stuff, and very, very dark and very depressing. So it's one of these films that, again, probably won't really watch again. Maybe on a rewatch sometime down the line, but not in the I gotta go see this. I feel like watching is AI, but still good enough to be number 24 for 2001. Number 23 was The Mummy Returns, the sequel to the hugely popular 1999 film The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz, and John Hurd. Also brought back the Imhotep, the main bad guy, but this time made it his reincarnated lover from the past is trying to bring him back. Even though he died at the end of the first one, is trying to bring him back. And we have a connection with Rachel Weisz with this woman being like sisters or something like that, if I recall correctly. And it even included one of the first films that The Rock was ever in, and awful, terrible, awful CGI at the end. Where he played the Scorpion King. It was absolutely horrendous. I guess for the time, that's to be expected since it's 2001. And the effects were good, but they weren't great. Then it was low budget stuff like that. It didn't have the same oomph or quality that the original 1999 had. I don't think anything ever would be able to top that. We'll see what happens when this fourth one comes out. The third one, they're totally just not even going to talk about because Rachel Weisz wasn't in it. So we'll see what happens with that. But again, it's a decent sequel, but if I had to choose, I would watch the original again instead of this. But it makes number 23 on the list. I believe it was 2000, the Cider House Rules was released. And it's an absolutely, based on a book, it's a fantastic, absolutely amazing movie. Loved every minute of it. And then when the same director was going to be adapting another high-quality dramatic novel, I went to the movie theater and watched it. And it was obviously not as good as Cider House Rules, but it has its moments. And this is one that I actually probably should take a look at again, but it does involve a problematic actor. Movie's The Shipping News, number 22. Kevin Spacey, Julianne Moore, Cate Blanchett in a really unusual role for her. She plays the hooker who gets pregnant by Kevin Spacey, and then she's a drug addict and stuff like that. She runs off with her boyfriend, leaving Kevin Spacey, who's kind of this meek sort of guy, to take care of their child. Then she ends up dying, and so he decides to just move away from wherever he was, move up to Newfoundland, where his family was from, and he takes over the running of the local newspaper up there called the Shipping News. Also, I forget the actor's name right now, but the actor from The Replacements and Notting Hill has a role in this as well. Gorgeous sets, gorgeous, filmed on location in Newfoundland. Beautiful scenery, but again, kind of a depressing sort of story, and it has its moments, but I still kind of liked it. Kind of remembered I saw that in the movie theater as well by myself on that one. Number 21 is an interesting film. It's one of these premises that's a really, really good idea, and it was ahead of its time in 2001. And it stars Jet Li and Carla Gugino, and it's from, I forget what their names are, but they worked on the X-Files, and they worked on like James Wong, I think, and his partner, writing partner, who also made Millennium Season 2 one of the best seasons of television ever. They also made the original Final Destination movie. This was their follow-up to the original Final Destination movie, The One. Number 21 is The One with Jet Li, who was a big thing in the early 2000s, and Carla Gugino. And again, the premise is outstanding. It's about a guy who can travel between multiverses, and this guy basically has a Highlander problem. He wants to be the only one in any multiverse, so he goes and jumps through every multiverse and kills every version of himself so he can be the only one. I forget if he gets any power from it, but again, this was 2001, so Everything Everywhere All at Once and the MCU's multiple universe sort of things. I'm not saying they're copied from this, but might have come from, hey, people thinking about this. This came from, it was the original idea. And of course, they kind of took the Highlander sort of thing and changed it up a little bit. But The One is definitely entertaining. You don't hear much about it. Jet Li is fine, is very good martial artist. And Carla Gugino is absolutely fabulous in everything she does anyway. This is her one of a couple appearances on this list. Her next appearance is much higher on the list. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But it's definitely just a kind of a fun little day waster. And actually, I haven't watched it, I don't think, since this point. So I don't remember much about it, but that's the premise of it, is kind of a Highlander thing. But in this case, it's a guy who can jump multiple dimensions and kills himself at every single one. Number 20, believe it or not, is adapted from a Alan Moore comic book series, but it's not a superhero story. Number 20 is From Hell. Stars Johnny Depp and the actor who played Hagrid, and the actress Heather Graham as well is in it too. And so is Bilbo Baggins. I forget his name also, who was also in Sherlock and was in the MCU. Anyway, regardless, From Hell is basically a movie adaptation of the Alan Moore graphic novel about Jack the Ripper. And Johnny Depp plays a sort of a detective, a kind of a darker version of his character he played in Sleepy Hollow, kind of that sort of drug addicted, alcoholic sort of guy who gets involved in this case, the Jack the Ripper case. And Alan Moore sort of makes his determination about who Jack the Ripper was and makes a case for it in this movie, and basically reveals who it is in the movie, and he gets what's coming to him, and so on and so forth. Basically, Alan Moore's idea of who Jack the Ripper was, which is actually a lot of people's ideas, is that it had something to do, connected to the monarchy. They believe that one of the princes at the time or whatever was having an unsavory relationship with a prostitute, and they were afraid that if the news got out, it would ruin the monarchy. So the queen tasked one of her best people to go and clean the slate up. Basically, it was a black op, and he became Jack the Ripper and killed all the potential prostitutes who could have knowledge of this relationship, and that includes Heather Graham's character, who Johnny Depp falls in love with as well, and is on the list of being one of the victims. It does not shy away from the violence. It is probably one of the better Jack the Ripper movies out there. They don't make Jack the Ripper movies as much anymore. It's still a fascinating case, and it's an interesting take to look at this, and very visually kind of stunning, made by a pair of African American brothers who I don't think they've really done anything since then. But they had some hits in the 90s, and they decided they were going to do this one. So From the Hell is actually pretty decent, but still just kind of dark, kind of dramatic, but a really good telling of the Jack the Ripper saga, and it does their version of who it is and solves the case for you. Number 19, I saw this with my wife the Friday right before we were going to go away for our summer vacation in 2001, which was in Ocean City, which is a whole other story in itself. In an interesting way, she had a Jeep. She had put the top down. We were driving down on Saturday morning. We were staying at not a hotel complex, but sort of like it's hard to describe. It's not like a hostel or anything like that, but it was like a mini hotel, but not like a fancy one that had different rooms, your own parking spot and stuff like that. And so we parked stuff, and we unloaded everything and didn't think much about it. And it rained the next morning, and rained hard. And about 8 a.m., we were in the middle of, doing it, when we got a knock at the door, hammering at the door, because we were hearing this loud beeping noise out in the parking lot. So I had to pull out basically and get myself oriented and see who it is. And it was the guy who was running the place. Says, you got to turn that. This is like 8 a.m. You got to turn, something's wrong with your car. You got to turn that alarm off because it's waking up people that are complaining. So we go down there. It's raining. It's pouring. Her top is down, and her car inside is completely wet, and it set off the car alarm. So we were able to turn it off and get the top up, but we had to air it out over a period. But her car was drenched. Her Jeep was drenched like that. So that was kind of interesting vacation. But we saw this movie the day before we left. It's Planet of the Apes, the Tim Burton version of it. Still not one of the best versions. And actually, and honestly, I should probably have moved it behind From Hell and maybe even the one. But it's still Tim Burton. I still like Tim Burton, and I like the designs of the apes and the way they did them. I mean, you got Paul Giamatti. You've got, I just had his name. Tim Roth, Helena Bonham Carter, who met Tim Burton on this film. They got together on this film. And Mark Wahlberg. It's basically just sort of kind of a remake of the Planet of the Apes, but just with kind of a newer take on it, with a Tim Burton score and a Tim Burton sensibility, and made the monkeys look more like monkeys, whereas in Planet of the Apes, they just look like people with monkey masks on. This one, he actually made the different species of monkeys in different characters, so you could separate them. They had a chimpanzee one, they had a gorilla one, they had an orangutan one, so on and so forth. So the effects are really, really good. The story itself is basically the story of the Planet of the Apes. I mean, you know the story, you know what's happening. And then the ending, a lot of people didn't like it. I kind of enjoyed it. I thought it was good and set up a sequel. Would have been an interesting sequel to see. But alas, we will not see it, because it did really well in the movie theaters, but just it did not do well enough to warrant a sequel, and one never really got off the ground after that. But Tim Burton needed this. It's a shame, because the movie he made, I think in 2000, which was Big Fish. I think he made Big Fish in 2000 before this one. He needed a big hit, because after Edward Scissorhands, he had a flop with Ed Wood, a flop with Mars Attacks, so he was not getting the stuff. But then he had a big hit with Sleepy Hollow, and then I think he might have had a flop with Big Fish, which was stupid, because it's a wonderful movie. It's the best Tim Burton movie, in my opinion. And then this movie helped him get his money back up again. And then he went off on his tangent from this point on, working with Depp and Helena Bonham Carter in movies. No, Big Fish had to be after it, so never mind. So it's just a way to keep building up his money and to make him. That was what was able to allow him to make Big Fish, I think in 2002 probably, or 2003. It might have been 2003 actually, but then after that, that's when he started doing the Depp Bonham Carter stuff with the Willy Wonka remake and Alice in Wonderland and all that other stuff. But this was the film right before Big Fish, so I got that all screwed up. But it's okay, and it was fine. We saw it at White Marsh, and then because she lived out in White Marsh, and so I spent the night that night. And we saw a movie, and then we left early in the morning from White Marsh and the whole story that happened. We were able to get the car dried out, and everything was fine by the end of the week, but it was still embarrassing and kind of interesting for us. Number 18 is another Johnny Depp movie, Blow, which actually is a kind of an underrated movie. Who is the director? It's a brother of another really good director. Can't think of his name right now. Ted Demme was the director of it. And basically, it's based on a true story. Johnny Depp, Penelope Cruz, Paul Rubens. Probably missing somebody in there, but it's basically the true story about a drug runner played by Johnny Depp's character, who ends up getting involved with one of the Citadel's ruler's daughter, sort of thing, and ends up, seeing sort of the drug trade as it started in the late 80s, or rather in the early 80s, and how it made its way up to the United States. Kind of how what this movie was a setup for, is how the drug issue made its way into the United States at that time. Decent film, really good, underrated. A lot of people don't talk about it. It's actually a decent film, as I said, one of the better drug movies out there. And a pretty decent gangster film also, if you want to really split hairs about things as well. But just a really good performance, and shows that Johnny Depp had his range. And there we go. Number 17 is the first mainstream appearance of Chris Nolan. That's what it was, Christopher Nolan. Memento, number 17. It's like he had done a movie before Memento, but this was kind of his first real American movie that did pretty good. Guy Pearce and Joe Pantoliano. And the basic premise is dude has short-term memory loss. He does not remember things after 5-10 minutes, something like that. So someone killed his wife, and he's investigating on who killed his wife. So he's got all these tattoos of clues and stuff like that. He's got to weave his way through how solve the crime. And the film is told backwards. So we see the end first, and we get to where, it's told in a backwards way, where the end of the film is actually the beginning of the film. Good performances in the beginning of Chris Nolan, sort of making a name for himself. Didn't get really big till a few years later down the line, because next film after this one was Insomnia, which a lot of people still really didn't even know he directed or even know much about. But he wasn't Christopher Nolan yet, but he was starting to see some of the potential that we had with Chris Nolan in this movie. Number 16 is Kevin Spacey's second appearance on this film. As I said, he's a problematic actor now, but back in 2001, he had The Usual Suspects under his belt and was a pretty well-respected actor, American Beauty as well. So he was getting a lot of jobs. And K-Pax was one of those. Is another one of these that you really don't know much about. I think it's Jeff Bridges who co-stars with him, I think. But it's about a psychiatrist in a sanitarium or whatever who meets up with this guy played by Kevin Spacey, who claims to be an alien from outer space and is showing certain signs that he has sort of special abilities. And Jeff Bridges is trying to figure out if he's telling the truth or if it's just a psychosis, but he can't really tell the difference, because some of the stuff that this person does is impossible when it comes to regular people. And it's a very well-made movie. I mean, again, it's just one of those movies that you don't think much about, you don't hear much about. Could be basically because of Kevin Spacey, but it's kind of a nice movie also because Spacey's character K-Pax gets, his general likability in the movie, being it's alien or just a guy who is psychotic or whatever, but in a good way. He's not crazy in the fact that he is violent. He's actually very caring, and he gives props and tries to get and help the other people in his psychiatric ward get through their own issues. And they believe that he is indeed an alien by the name of K-Pax because of all the stuff that he's been doing for them, making them heal, making them feel better. But Jeff Bridges just being the psychiatrist, I believe it's Jeff Bridges, being the psychiatrist. I got to just verify that. This is the first one I got to verify. I don't want to credit the wrong person. Let's see how well my memory is. It is Jeff Bridges. I roll. Mary McCormick, Alfred Woodard's in it, David Patrick Kelly, Aaron Paul Garrity, they're all in it. So it's a and K-Pax's name, Prot is his name. K-Pax is the planet he's from. So again, just kind of a nice version of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, where it's not like terrible conditions at an insane asylum, and this guy comes in and just is a whirlwind of good feeling and help for the people who are in this psychiatric ward, and tries to help them best he can, while also, having to deal with a psychiatrist who doesn't believe him as being an alien. So it's really nice. It's one of these films I need to try to check out again because I liked it a lot, but I haven't watched it since because it's just one of those movies that you just sort of like, you know what? I feel like in the mood to watch K-Pax. It's not the type of movie that jumps out. You says, I want to do that. So sometime down the line, maybe. Number 15 is Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. Now, at this time, I was still working at the radio station, so I was still doing premieres for these shows, for movies. And this was one that came out at the tail end of the year, around Christmas time, I believe. And because of the movies that were coming out around November and December, this movie sort of lost itself, was lost sort of in the shuffle, but actually did really well, and did well enough that it spun off a long-running animated series on Nickelodeon. It's a Nickelodeon cartoon, but it started off as a movie. It's Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, computer-generated animation. One of the only, at the time, only Pixar was doing really computer-animated movies. Everyone else was still doing hand-drawn movies. And at this time, as you'll find out, you're going to find out that Pixar was really only on its third or fourth movie at this time. So they were the only really doing computer animated films. So this was like one of the first other animation divisions that decided to do a computer animated film. And it's not based on a property that anybody knew about at the time. It was a fully created Ford movie that became a TV show on Nickelodeon, and was a pretty decent sized hit. Did very, very well, and it's got a fun quality to it. It's got a little bit of a pop culture feel to it. It's got fun. It's silly, and it's got science fiction and all kinds of stuff. It's a fun little movie, and recommended if you want something different than your typical Disney sort of stuff. Number 14 is Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. This is the culmination of Kevin Smith's View Askew movies. He had just done the deeply thoughtful and his best movie of all time, Dogma. And he had also done Chasing Amy. So he'd done two really kind of heavy sort of films back to back. And he wanted to get back to the Mallrats sort of Clerks feel of stuff. And he knew Jay and Silent Bob were hugely popular. So he decided to do a totally fourth wall breaking, what's the word I'm looking for? where they're winking and nudging at the audience. Now, Kevin Smith worked with Matt Damon in not Matt Damon wasn't in this, I don't think. No, worked with Ben Affleck. He played two different characters. He was a character in Mallrats. He was a character in Chasing Amy. And Dogma's just completely sort of ignored in this movie. Jason Lee played two different characters, and from Chasing Amy and Mallrats as well. And he also needed to bring in the guys from Clerks. So he made a film that brought all these characters into the same movie. So Jason Lee played two roles, the two roles he played in Mallrats and Chasing Amy. Ben Affleck played two roles, the roles he played in Chasing Amy and Mallrats as well. And then you get the people from Clerks as well in this as too. And it's a around this time is when the internet was really starting to wake up a little bit. Movie websites were popping up, and it's kind of a parody of Ain't It Cool News called Poop Shoot News. They're talking about what is there? There was a cartoon, a comic book that Ben Affleck and Jason Lee's character, Blunt Man and Chronic, was making about Jay and Silent Bob, but they're marijuana superheroes. And someone in Hollywood had bought the rights to make it into a movie, and they were casting terrible people and would make them look like idiots. So Jay and Silent Bob decided to go out to Hollywood to stop the production. So they go in and they do a road trip movie where they run into, all these different characters. George Carlin pops up in a different role. Matt Damon is in this movie. Actually, I forget that he was parodying himself, making the movie that he won the Oscar for, that he wrote and he starred in. They're making a sequel to it, so they brought that up, and then Ben Affleck was in that. It's also Ben Affleck played 3 or 4 different roles in this movie. And they just brought in Elijah Dushku was in it. The hottie from American Pie was in it. Also Shannon Elizabeth, and just tongue-in-cheek cameos. Carrie Fisher was involved. Mark Hamill. Just a total, we're gonna just have a whole lot of fun. We're not serious about anything. We're going to have all this tongue-in-cheek, fourth wall breaking sort of stuff. And it works. It actually worked pretty good. It's number 14. Number 13 is 13 Ghosts. I had to do that. There was a branch of called Dark Castle. It was a production company that did these sort of horror movies. That I think Sam Raimi was producing or something like that. And 13 Ghosts was a remake of like a 1950s sort of horror film about a house that was a jail for 13 ghosts. So they decided to update it for 2001, the new millennium, as it were. And they created a new house with 13 distinct ghosts. You bring Shannon Elizabeth in as well, or is it Jessica Alba? I think it was Shannon Elizabeth's in this one also. Tony Shalhoub and Matthew Lillard are in this movie. And basically, Tony Shalhoub and his family buy this house, discover in the basement there's these jails with these 13 ghosts, and the 13 ghosts get out, and they're all violent and stuff like that. They have to put them back. It's a violent, gory sort of ghost film, but it's actually really good, decent. It's got a cult following now. Matthew Lillard's fantastic in it after his roles in Scream. He's been on a roll after this. And Tony Shalhoub, of course, and Shannon Elizabeth being the flavor of the month, was really bringing it, as it were, in this one. It's a good movie. In fact, I think they're making a streaming series, which is going to be 13 episodes, which with each episode talking about each separate ghost that's in there and how they got to that point, which is a really, really good idea, actually. If it gets done, that's the story. Dark Castle really didn't last so much longer. It made one more really good movie in Ghost Ship, and then it just sort of dissipated away and hasn't come back since. Number 12 is another ghost story. but different type of one. This one is The Others, number 12. Nicole Kidman, in one of the creepiest movies you've ever seen, basically about a woman who is raising her children on her own because her husband's off at war. Her husband is played by the Ninth Doctor. I forget his name, the one who restarted the Doctor Who franchise. But she and her family have moved into this house and are just trying to live their life. But then weird, strange things start happening. Doors that were closed or opened, windows, shades that are pulled down have been pulled up, things are moved, and just more and more weird things just start happening. And she's trying to figure out, is this haunted? Is there something that's haunting us? And it has one of the best twist endings in a movie, maybe the best twist ending of 2001 films. It's not going to kill it here, but it's absolutely stunning, and is up there with The Sixth Sense and other movies as well. Fantastic sort of not too gory horror film, more atmospheric, dread, dread sort of dread rising sort of a film, but definitely worth checking out, particularly around Halloween, with, as I said, probably the best twist ending of 2001. Number 11 is Ben Stiller's Zoolander, which is one of the craziest, stupidest, and most hilarious films you're ever going to see. And it has its own little history. It was due to come out in mid-September. But as we talked about at the beginning of the show, 9/11 happened, and they shut down movie theaters and baseball and television and football and stuff like that as we recovered. And then after a few weeks, they decided it was time to get back on this horse, because if you keep, the terrorists win if you don't go about and continue living your life. So Zoolander became the first movie to be released in a post 9/11 world. It was the end of September that it was released, and it did very well. They had to edit a sequence that shows the Twin Towers in the background because they did film it in New York. But as I said, it's an absolutely insane film that Ben Stiller co-wrote, produced, directed, and stars in. It's about male models. His buddy Owen Wilson makes an appearance as well. His wife is in it as well. Also cameos by Will Ferrell's the bad guy, actually. Jerry Stiller, his father, is in it too, and Mara, his mother, is in it as well. David Duchovny has a fantastic cameo. Remember, this is a time when X-Files was still going on, so to see him absolutely making fun of sort of his paranoid conspiracy theory sort of guy, but in male model format's hilarious. Andy Dick makes an appearance, which is one of the worst sequences of the film. Not really because of him, but because of what the story is. But Andy Dick was one of the guys that worked with Ben Stiller when he did the Ben Stiller show. I don't remember Janeane Garofalo being in it. I don't think she was. Winona Ryder has a cameo. He had just worked with her in Reality Bites. Who else is in there from his past? Billy Zane makes an appearance. David Bowie has a cameo. And Angelina Jolie's dad, who was the MAGA asshole. John, the guy from... He was in Midnight Cowboy, and then did the National Treasure movies. I just had it. It'll come to me eventually. Vince Vaughn's in it as well. Another mega asshole. What's her name also? This is killing me. I hate not remembering any of this stuff. Jon Voight. That's Jon Voight is in it. Ben Stiller, Owen Wilson, Will Ferrell, Christine Taylor, Jerry Stiller, Justin Theroux, Milla Jovovich, Alexander Skarsgård, Mila Jovovich, Vince Vaughn, Nathan Lee Graham, David Duchovny, Amy Stiller, Andy Dick, Lenny Kravitz, Tommy Hilfiger, John Voight, James Marsden. That's right. He played John Wilkes Booth. That's right. Christian Slater has Pierce, Jennifer Coolidge, Cuba Gooding Jr., Nora Dunn. So he's got all these cameos. Natalie Portman, Patton Oswalt, Lucas Haas, Shabazz Ray. They have all these sort of things. So it's very kind of a fun, stupid kind of movie. Definitely quotable stuff. And a family, his whole family was involved with it in some form or another. So, Zoolander's a really funny film, and it's interesting and definitely worth a watch. Number 10, Shannon Elizabeth makes her third appearance on the list with American Pie 2, a decent sequel to the original one. Again, a problematic storyline. The first one was more problematic, I guess. I don't think about it, really wasn't. Yeah, the first one had a little more problematic issues. This one still had some problematic stuff because it was a teen sex comedy, but it's a little bit better. Takes place at the beach, has a bigger role for Allison Hannigan's character, who at the time was living high on the hog on Buffy. Brings back all the characters from the first movie. The problem is Mina Savari and the guy who played her love interest were at the time working on more serious films, and they really didn't want to do much for this film. So Mina Savari is barely in it, and the Chris guy or whatever, he's barely in it also. He still showed up, and Mina Savari was in it for a brief 2 seconds. Originally, they were going to have a whole storyline with them breaking up and them getting back together, but they just cut that out because Mina Savari is like, yeah, I was just an American, not American Pie. I just said it too. American Beauty, and I want to do more serious stuff. And then they shifted more away from Thomas Ian Griffith's character, who was really the main character in the American. Well, it's part of ensemble, but he was the one that got the story rolling in the original American Pie, and he has a story arc in American Pie. This one, he's barely in as well. We focus more on Jason Biggs' character because he's the one that was the more flashy one. He's the one that fucked the pie in the first one and did the Shannon Elizabeth stuff and was with Allison Hannigan. So he was the guy that was getting all the good stuff. But he originally was not supposed to be like the main actor in American Pie. It's the ensemble. But because he sort of took off doing that role, they made it this one focus more on him, and also bringing in I hate not having all this stuff. Stifler, who was in the original movies just sort of a one-off kind of character, was not supposed to become as popular as he was because he's a pain in the ass dick douchebag, but he became hugely popular, so they gave him a bigger role in this one, which really makes this movie the only bad thing about it. And there continue shenanigans, but it's not nearly as sexually depraved as the first one is. This one is more focusing on a love story that starts cropping up between Jason Biggs and Allison Hannigan's character. There's still it still have your sexual stuff, and you still have Jason Biggs does something embarrassing, but in the end, it's a fine sequel. Takes place during the summertime at the beach, different location, just a completely different story. And the other cast members just sort of get short shrift on this as they focus more on Jason Biggs' character, but it's still entertaining. That's why it's number 10. I still like it. And it's not, as I said, not as problematic as the first one was. Number 9, Pixar's fourth movie, I believe, was Monsters, Inc. It's number 9 here. John Goodman and Billy Crystal. And also Steve Buscemi's in it as well, the voice of it. And it's basically about monsters whose job it is to come out in closets and scare children. The children's screams are what powers the monster's world. But when a human child finds its way to Monster World because they're saying that a human child, if they touch you, is toxic to you, that could kill you. But when a human child comes in and sort of accidentally makes her way into Monster Land, and John Goodman and Billy Crystal, who are the best screamers, the best workers at this place, are involved with her and discover that humans are not as bad as the monsters make it out to be, and they have to hide her and are on the run. Meanwhile, Randall, played by Steve Buscemi, who is their rival, is trying to find any way he can to become the winner of the Screamer, the Monster of the Year sort of award. It's a fun movie. It's very well animated. It's, again, computer generated animation. Start up with this. Jimmy Neutron, there's one other movie that was computer generated, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But this one was definitely one of the better Pixar movies, and spawned a sequel and I think a TV show on Disney Plus briefly also, and I think they might be doing another one now, so we'll see how that all works out. But Monsters, Inc. is number 9. Number 8, introduced the world to one of the best actresses of the 21st century in her first role. It is a defining role for her character, for the actress. She hit the button off it for her first major role. She hits a iconic character, spun off a sequel, and a third movie is presently in the works to be start film production next year. The actress in this movie has gone on to have an amazing career, including winning an Oscar, and was just in a huge movie that kicked off the summer season this year. It's Anne Hathaway, and it's The Princess Diaries. Gary Marshall adapted the young adult novel, The Princess Diaries, set in San Francisco, cast an unknown at the time, Anne Hathaway, who is gorgeous, by the way. But in this, they had to make her seem like she was not gorgeous and then turn her gorgeous. And you've got Julie Andrews coming back out of retirement, really hasn't done anything for a while in film until this film came around, playing her mom. And you had, I forget the actor's name, but the guy who's in all of Gary Marshall's films. And just a wonderful, fun, adorable little film. Shows off Anne Hathaway's comedic chops, as well as her sort of little dramatic runs to it. Just a really fun, wonderful film, and we will be seeing a third one here very shortly. Number 7 is Mulholland Drive. A lot of people are saying that this is the best film of the 21st century, and they're not wrong. I first saw this roughly around 2004, 2005, because we were living up here at the time. So it was around 2004, 2005 when I saw it, and it was fine. It wasn't my favorite movie in the world, but it's David Lynch, who I absolutely love. And I want to see what the big deal was about it, and it wasn't my favorite movie. So flash forward to earlier this year, I've been seeing, he passed away. David Lynch passed away last year. So there was a lot of talk about this movie, and I started watching more reels about it and more stuff about it. And it got me intrigued to want to rewatch it again. So earlier this year, I sat down and rewatched it again this year. And my God, I love this movie. I found it, so 20 some years after I first saw it, I saw it again with my more knowledgeable an idea and what other people have said about it, and I was able to follow the story a lot better and rave on the shots that David Lynch did and just the work he did on it. Naomi Watts is involved with that, Justin Theroux as well, and just it's an amazing film, and love the score from Angelo Badalamenti, and it is one of the best movies of 21st century. and well worth it. Number 7, definitely. Not even going to try to explain it, but definitely see it 2 times. First time to see it just to get the whole thing into your senses and makes you think about some stuff, and then go watch it again, maybe after watching some people's comments on it and how they interpret it. The one thing you got to remember is this movie was supposed to be a pilot for a TV show that Dave Lynch was trying to sell to ABC again to take the place of Twin Peaks. And they didn't buy it, and he decided to repurpose parts of the story into the movie and add some other stuff to connect the threads. So stuff that appears kind of awkward and weird, like why do they focus so much on Justin Theroux's director character early in the movie, and then he disappears at the tail end of the movie. The reason why is because he was supposed to be one of the main characters in the TV show. His storyline was going to intersect with the main actresses, and you can tell exactly where it was going. There's one sequence where he's, and this is not really spoiler, but this is just the main storyline. He's being forced by like a mafia type to cast this one actress in a movie that he's directing right now, and he doesn't want to do it, but they tell him if he doesn't, they're going to destroy his career. So he tells him to piss off, and so his career starts falling apart. So he realizes that I better play ball with them. So he ends up playing ball with them. But when he's watching the auditioning the woman playing the role, he's in director's chair, and you can just tell that he's resigned and given up, and this one was going to be in my movie. Fine, I will make it work. And then Naomi Campbell's character came in, and the minute she comes in, he sort of senses her and looks back at her, and you knew that their storyline was going to be very important. That that was going to be the connection. That was the woman that he wanted to cast. He saw her, and she was want to be actress, and he wanted to see her audition. And he said that would probably be the actress I would have cast. But that probably would have been one of the storylines in the TV show. But because they couldn't really do that, and Lynch had a different idea, he still kept it in, and it just sort of goes away. Because Justin Theroux sort of goes away in the second half of the movie, pops up one more time, but is in a different sort of scenario at this point that you could tell was obviously made for this movie and not for the TV show. There's some other stuff you see in there that they set up some other stuff, like the Winkies guys. The guy in the Winkies was definitely going to have a bigger role than he appears in this one. So it's just sort of like a one-off sort of, okay, this is interesting, but there's going to be more of a storyline with that. And they kept that in there because that's actually one of the creepiest sequences in the movie. And that's what really got me drawn back into wanting to watch this movie again at the beginning of this year. Definitely worthwhile. And there was a few things I thought there was a more of a full frontal female nudie scene in it. And there wasn't. So I don't know what I was thinking about when I first saw this originally. So I don't know. We'll see, but it's definitely worth it. You're going to be surprised that, I'm talking about how great Mulholland Drive is, and it's only number 7 on my list, and it's considered one of the best movies of the 21st century, that I have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more films in front of it. Again, this is my list, stuff like that. This one's going to surprise a lot of people, but this is one of my, films that I love to watch all the time. When I'm bored or whatever, I always like, hey, I haven't watched this in a while. It's been a while since I need to check it out again. And it's one of the first and one of the good. It's actually a lot better than people give it credit for. Number 6 is Lara Croft Tomb Raider with Angelina Jolie and Jon Voight. And Daniel Craig is actually in it as well. It's a decent adaptation of the video game. Angelina does go all out, makes her jugs be big as Lara Croft's are, so she's able to do that. But it was a fun, Simon West directed it, a fun sort of rock and roll early 2000 video game adaptation movie. Her butler and her tech guy are 2 of the funniest guys ever. The guy who plays her butler played Rimmer in Red Dwarf, so he's already funny as hell. And the guy who plays her tech guy, I think, has been a bunch of stuff also. But they're fucking hilarious. The action sequences and the storyline are a little convoluted, but they're very interesting. And I like the setup. I like the idea. I love the Lara Croft thing. And it's a really neat idea. The Illuminati, time travel, all kinds of fun stuff, all the stuff you expect from a Lara Croft Tomb Raider movie. And just disappointed the sequel was not as good as this one. This is a comfort film, one I watch all the time. Haven't watched it in a little while. I need to rectify that soon, hopefully. I enjoyed the shit out of this movie. I need to actually pick it up probably in Blu-ray. I think I only have it in DVD right now, and I might need to get a 4K if they have a version of that out. I might check that out after the show. Definitely Lara Croft Tomb Raider. I know ahead of Mulholland Drive. Are you insane? Maybe, but Mulholland Drive is one of those movies that, yeah, I love it right now, but it took me 20 years to rewatch it. It was just because I was watching kind of these reels, but it's one of these movies that I'm just sort of like, you know what, I really don't want to rewatch it again because it's really one of the things that makes you think. Tomb Raider, not so much. Tomb Raider is more of just a fun action film. Angelina Jolie is hot as hell in it, as always. She does really good action. Does most of her own stunts in it. Daniel Craig is great in a supporting role before he became James Bond. And as I said, Rimmer and the tech guy are fucking hilarious. And whenever they're on screen, it's great. And just it's an amazing movie, and I enjoyed immensely. And there we go. Number 5, DreamWorks decided to get into the computer animated stuff as well. They were only a year or so removed from competing with Disney, so they really hadn't had a major hit. They had some decent hits, but nothing major. This was their first major hit, and it's better, in my opinion, than Pixar's movie, Monsters, Inc. Number 5 is Shrek. Shrek was one of these movies that I got the movie premiere for the radio station and was able to get my wife, her roommate, and roommate's boyfriend tickets to go see it. So we all sat down and watched the premiere of it. When I did the premiere stuff at Valley Center, which is right down the road here, actually, in Owings Mills. So that was fun. That was a lot of fun. Enjoy the movie. It's a great deconstruction of fairy tales. It's Jeffrey Katzenberg's middle finger to Disney for fucking him over. Mike Myers was not originally supposed to be Shrek. Chris Farley was, and it was a completely different movie when he came on board and did the vocals of it, but he passed away before he could finish the vocals. So they brought Mike Myers in, and he turned Shrek into a Scottish ogre, which was outstanding. Yet Eddie Murphy killing it as Donkey, continuing to show that Eddie Murphy, while he was, the tail end of his career, his voiceover work is still amazing, having done Mulan in 97 and now Donkey in 2001. Eddie Murphy knows where he's really good and where he's well needed, and he's fantastic. Cameron Diaz is great in it, and Jesus, I can see his face now. God damn it. The new Dumbledore, Third Rock from the Sun. John Lithgow. John Lithgow as the bad guy is great. You get introduced to Gingerbread Man and all the other fairy tale characters. Great deconstruction of the fairy tale land. Shrek is fantastic. It's funny, somewhat heartfelt, magical, but also typical sort of gross out sort of comedy. And Eddie Murphy absolutely steals the movie from everybody. Number 4 actually surprised the shit out of me about how much I love this movie. And I probably shouldn't. But here we are. Number 4 is the Robert Rodriguez, who was mostly primarily known for violent action films and vampire stripper movies. Decided he wanted to make a kind of family action film. So he created our number 4 movie, Spy Kids. Antonio Banderas, Carla Gugino, George Clooney in a cameo. The guy who played Machete. Danny Trejo, who has played nothing but like thugs and tough guys, plays one of the funniest characters you've ever seen. Is totally un-Danny Trejo like, and shows that Danny Trejo is a lot more than just the muscle. Cheech Marin has a role in this as well. Tony Shalhoub is great, and I forget the actor who played the main bad guy. He ended up playing Nightcrawler in the X-Men movies as well. But Terry Hatcher's in it, just an absolute, and the guy who played the T-1000, Robert Patrick, is also in it as well. It's it's hard to describe. It is an absolutely gorgeously shot, uber silly film about two spies, opposing spies, played by Carla Gugino and Antonio Banderas, whose jobs it was to kill each other, and they end up falling in love with each other, decided to get married, and then decided they were going to give up their assassin's ways and work on building a family. And they had two kids, but they still would do periodic consulting work for different spy groups as well. As long as it wasn't against each other, they would work together as a family and stuff like that. But Antonio Banderas is trying to, he wants to keep doing it because he's bored with what he's doing, but he also knows that he's got to keep a low profile because he's a dad now. His kids are older, but he still is, his main role now is dad. And he's got to keep his spy stuff, and so does Carla Gugino, keep their spy stuff away from their kids. Kids are your typical older sister, younger brother, annoying younger brother, bitchy older sister. Banderas' character discovers that a lot of the spies that he's been working with have been disappearing lately. And he's called into service to try to solve the case. And Carla Gugino is able to convince him, one of the funniest scenes in the movie, to have her join him. And Cheech Marin, who plays their uncle, who is a guy who works for a spy company that's not really their uncle, but is there to watch over them, to protect them, make sure nothing happens to them. If something happens to the mom and the dad, comes in to help them. And the parents get captured. And they come after the kids. So the kids escape, discover their parents are spies, and then discover all about the spy life, and then decide they need to go save their parents. So they become spies. They meet up with their real uncle, played by Danny Trejo, who is Machete, who is a guy who's created all the spy gear. And he wants something to do with his brother. They had a falling out. But he does end up helping his niece and nephew. And they go and try to save their parents. And their parents, meanwhile, are facing off against a bad guy who is a guy who runs a children's show and has found out a way to turn people into these grotesque characters he puts on his show. And his whole point now is to try to create the next level of assassin for these dark cartels, and he's deciding to use children for that. He gets children because children can make their way into locations that most grown-ups can't, and then they can do their spy stuff as well. So he teaches them to be evil, but he needs Antonio Banderas' character's knowledge of a certain thing to make them work properly. It's a whole convoluted thing, but the effects are amazing, the sets are amazing, the cast is amazing. Antonio Banderas looks like he's having the time of his life. He's absolutely loving this role. Loves playing this character. Carla Gugino is fantastic as his sexy wife. She's always sexy and everything, but she's also very motherly also. So she's like a sexy MILF sort of thing going on. Danny Trejo is just fantastic as the tough guy Machete, who actually has a beating heart inside, which is really great and completely different. Cheech Marin is Cheech. You can't go wrong with him. The bad guys are goofy. Tony Shalhoub is fantastic. And the ending is just it's amazing. It has one of the best lines is there's there's 500 kids that are all prepped and ready to be assassins, and the family has to stop them. At the time, it's the dad, the mom, and the son, the daughter. They have to stop them. So they're like, it's like, hey, you take the 100 on that side, you take the 100 there, I'll take the 100 here, you take the 100 there. And that still leaves 100 after us, and that's when Machete comes in. And so they're willing to take on 100 children each. It's phenomenal. It's such a great movie, and it's one I need to watch again. I need to see they did a director's cut. They re-released it in theaters a year or so later with some added, or later in the run with a couple of added sequences to it. And the DVD I have doesn't have the added sequences. That's another one I should probably see if they have on 4K. But Spy Kids is amazing. It's outstanding. I love it so much. And the only reason why it's not higher on my list is because the last three are just as good, if not better, than this one. Number 3 is a hugely underrated Disney animated film. One of the last hand-drawn that they end up doing is one that does not have a musical number, has decided they were going to try something different. They did that in 2000 when they did Fantasia 2000, and then they did Dinosaur, which was the animated like that, which didn't have any musical numbers in it. Fantasia, of course, did, but that was a different story. But Dinosaur did not. So they're trying to get away from the musical animated films to show they could do more stuff like that. And the result was this phenomenal animated movie that unfortunately does not get the respect it deserves. And after it did okay, but it didn't do the numbers that the musicals did. They went back and did like Emperor's New Groove, and they did Hercules, and all this stuff came out after this one. But this set the stage for that. No musical numbers, straight up action, sci-fi, thriller. Mike Mignola, one of my favorite artists who created Hellboy, did the production design for the characters. Vocal cast that includes Michael J. Fox, James Garner, Father Guido Sarducci, the actor who plays him. I think John Mahoney has a voice in this as well. And it's just one of my all-time favorite Disney movies, if not my favorite Disney movie of all time. It's Atlantis, The Lost Empire. It's as I said, not a musical, high stakes, action animated film set in the turn of the century, the 20th century. It's like 1900, 1901. With a very, as I said, Mike Mignola created the character designs for it, so it's very Mignola-esque, which I love. So it's about a guy played by Michael J. Fox, who is an intern who is obsessed with Atlantis, and John Mahoney plays this billionaire who has discovered where Atlantis might be and wants him on this group that includes a bunch of army people and all kinds of scientists and stuff like that to try to bring back proof of Atlantis. And they need him because he can read ancient Atlantean stuff like that. And so he joins up with this crew, and they go and find Atlantis, but then are double crossed by someone in the group. And a small handful of the group have to try to save the Atlantean people because they are real people. They are still alive. Their country, their continent is still alive. All their tech is still there. And Michael J. Fox falls in love with the princess, who is Princess of Atlantis, and he can speak to her because he can speak this ancient Atlantean stuff. It's just such a great movie. Oh my God, it's so good. It does not need musical numbers. Did not have musical numbers. And that might be one of the reasons why I absolutely adore this movie. The last two are pretty interchangeable because this, as I said, 2001, post 9/11, movies got very interesting with the return of fantasy. And at the time, 2001, Harry Potter was still chugging along. The fourth book had come out in 2000, so it was only 1 year removed from the Goblet of Fire being released. So 5, 6, and 7 have not even been written yet. I had heard that they were going to make a Harry Potter movie, and I wanted to read the books because everybody was talking about them. And then when Chris Columbus signed on to do the movie, I was like, I have to watch it. And I did, and it's number 2. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone is number 2 on my list. So when I started dating my wife, I had just started reading the Harry Potter stuff, and she hadn't read it either. So she borrowed my copies, and she became obsessed with it also. So we ended up really enjoying the Harry Potter stuff and rereading the books over and over again. And then this was the first movie to come out in 2001. Perfect casting: Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, Rupert Grint. I forget the actor's name who played Hagrid, who was also in From Hell. You have I forget her name too. You got Alan Rickman's Snape. You have Richard Harris's Dumbledore, who is the best, still to me, the best Dumbledore. I forget he actually plays who played I forget the character's name. Oh, Jesus. But just an amazing cast, great set design. The children were fleshed out really well. The teachers were fleshed out really, really well. Sorcerer's Stone is one of the easier books to do because there's not a lot going on. It doesn't get more complex until Goblet of Fire. McGonagall's a character. I can't think of the actress that plays her, though, because my mind is gone and I'm not very good at doing notes and stuff like that. But it was the type of movie, the Harry Potter Sorcerer's Stone. My wife and I saw it in the movie theater together. It became a regular film we would watch every Halloween for years after. I don't know why we picked that, but just because, I guess, witches and there's a Halloween sequence and stuff like that. But we always would watch it on Halloween, which was really fun. So for 2 or 3 years straight, we watched it on Halloween, which is great. Spun off, The Chamber of Secrets comes out in 2002. It'll be in next year's list. Chamber of Secrets will pop up on my top 25 list next year. So Harry Potter series, while yes, again, problematic with the writer of the book, the movies are still phenomenal. Chris Columbus continued to make a name for himself with this series. Maggie Smith, there we go, playing McGonagall. So there we go. That's number 2. Number 1 is, of course, Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring. Another one that I saw in the movie theater with my wife. She had read the original Lord of the Rings, and I had just gotten the series for Christmas, I think, and she reread them again. We love this movie also. This was not the extended version. This was the original theatrical version, so it was good, but not as good as the extended versions. We loved the movie. We went to see the movie theaters. We absolutely adored it. We got the DVD when it came out. We watched it multiple times, and then when they released the extended editions, we got rid of the theatrical ones, and we just kept the extended ones, and we've just been watching the extended ones. Fellowship is my favorite of the 3 movies. My wife likes Two Towers, again, coming out in 2002, so that'll be on my list next year. Will it be number 1? Very well, possibly could be, but who knows? Spider-Man is in there. Spider-Man 2 is in there as well, and there's really other good things coming out in 2002, so we'll see what happens. But Fellowship is still my favorite. The best cast, the best director, best setting. New Zealand is the perfect setting for it. It makes you feel like you are in the Tolkien's world, and just an amazing film. There's not much more words I can say for it. It is a perfect film. It is a great film, and the fact that we got both Harry Potter and Fellowship of the Rings in a post 9/11 year, which helped really bring back people to the movie theaters and sort of gave a way to stave off the fear that was set to come for the next 3 to 4 years in our country after this 9/11 stuff. Really kind of helped out a lot, because Chamber of Secrets came out in 2002 also, and then it took a break, and then the next one came out like in 2004 sort of stuff. So and then Return of the King was 1, 2, 3 in a row, and just phenomenal. So what else was going to be number one? You could have said Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings flip flop, but I think Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, is better than Harry Potter and Sorcerer's Stone. But Chris Columbus did a phenomenal job in adapting the first Harry Potter movie and setting the stage for the remaining films, and did a great job. So that's 2001 for you. Great year of films. Some you might not have heard of before. Some you might have only seen once before, but might be intrigued to see again. Highly recommend checking out some of these movies again. Thanks. It is now officially Star Wars Day, May 25th, 2026. Star Wars came out 49 years ago today. It celebrates its 50th anniversary next year. It's also Memorial Day. So Memorial Day is the day that we mourn the loss of the soldiers we lost in the war. It's not the veterans who are still alive or the veterans who died of old age or whatever. The Memorial Day is for those who we celebrate, those who fell in the wars defending us. So if you can, go out and go to a local cemetery if you have some fallen soldiers there. My wife is going to do some flag stuff with the Scouts tomorrow morning. At the local cemetery, so that's good. One more day off, and then we're back to the last week of May, and then June's coming up very quickly. I still have a bunch of lists I want to do. I don't know if I'm going to get to them tomorrow or later today. My son is still going to be down here playing his video games, so I don't know if I'll be able to get a chance to do it during the day, and I don't do it at night because I have work on Tuesday. So we'll see what happens. But right now, I want to get this done. And I want to thank you for watching. And 2001 was a good year for movies, but it did indeed change our perspective early in 21st century, and it's kind of the catalyst of kind of where we are now. All right, thank you for watching. Happy Memorial Day.